back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm, of course, Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Jones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. And today, well, second weekend of the month, and I am moving on to my comic video. So yes, last month I talked about the Hulk, the early years of Marvel Comics. I'm still going to go along with that theme of the early years of Marvel Comics, but today I'm going to talk about Captain America. And I thought long and hard about which character to do next, and I figured, you know what? Let me cover all the, because let me cover all the characters that were actually in the early Avengers. And where am I getting all my source material? As always, from one of the Marvel Epic collections. I got this one right here, Captain America. It's titled Captain America Lives Again, which I guess is appropriate because I do know that back in the 40s there were Captain America comics. I don't remember the name of the company, but I think what happened was that company eventually became Marvel Comics. So I don't know. I confess to not really knowing the full history of Marvel Comics, but I do know that that was not a bad character to bring back. So at least I don't think so. I mean, listen, we've seen it from from the comics and from the MCU movies. Chris Evans has done a great job playing Captain America, and it's a very interesting character. Nice, it's almost like you can go by the line they did in the actually the first Avengers movie, where basically Agent Coulson is saying, "I think we need a little bit old fashioned right now," and sometimes I think they're correct with the way things are going in today's society. But let's not dwell on that. Let's dwell on comics. All right, so consult my notes. So this particular trade has do that. Let me do that. So we have more room for the comic book covers, which I will get into in a bit. So we got Strange Tales number 114, Avengers number 4, and the comic Tales of Suspense issues 58 through 96. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot. Well, Tales of Suspense, what they did was they basically, it was like a title that they shared with two heroes. This particular one happened to be Captain America and Iron Man. So when I do Iron Man, there's going to be a lot of those up there. And at first, they would like split the covers. They would have half with what's going on with Captain America, the other half with Iron Man. Then at some point, they just alternated it, where one month it was Iron Man on the cover, and then the other month it would be Captain America. So the ones with just Iron Man, I'm not going to show up in this corner. I'll save those for when I do Iron Man, maybe next month, possibly. But yeah, and so. But yeah, it's and also another thing that we think of is, well, it's a lot of issues. This must be a really long book. Well, see, in those issues, the Tales of Suspense. I had to actually make sure I was saying the right thing. In those, when they split it, it wasn't like it was a really thick book. It was like a regular sized comic book, and each one got like about 13 pages. So it was so basically it's like kind of like half issues, I guess you can call it. So of course in the trade they're not going to include the part with they're not going to include Iron Man, unless the two of them are in the book, are in the same thing together, so they're not going to include Iron Man. It's only going to be those 13 pages of Captain America for all those issues, and of course Avengers number 4 is when they find Captain America in the ice and they bring him back. So it was, so yeah. I mean, they I really feel like what they did was, I guess they realized that they had a good character there, and from past issues in the in the company archives, I guess, and they're like, how do we bring him back? So of course the way they ended it with Captain America back in the 40s was, he had the last mission where he was trying to stop, I forget what type of weapon it was. I don't know. I mean, I know, nowadays they'll probably say it was a nuke. I don't remember if it was a nuke, but excuse me. So they did have him and Bucky jump onto this flying device, and they were trying to stop. They were trying to stop it from or disarm it, which I believe they, if I remember right, they did. But then of course something did explode on it, and they wound up falling into icy waters, and and of course Captain America was frozen in there for many decades, and then of course revived in the 60s. Of course, we all know in the MCU they had to do it differently. They couldn't do it in the 60s. They had to do it in now present day. But we all, those of us who have read it, we all know how the comics went. So anyway, let's some of the points that I like I said, shared issues with Iron Man. So of course the issues were shorter, and also through some of those in the Tales of Suspense comics, they did cover his origin. Now I don't think it was technically a reprinting. I think it's like kind of like just a retelling, like they do sometimes with with different titles, where it's like instead of reprinting old issues and just printing it, and just putting it out as new, they just kind of redid it. Like they redrew it, rewrote it. Maybe not rewrote it, but they redid it and just put it out as a retelling. Not a reboot, but a retelling. And you'll find that a lot in a lot of Marvel comics, especially with older characters. They're always doing like a retelling whenever they're trying to, I guess, like fill up time for for like a major storyline to happen. Because usually when their major storylines have they usually have a combined involvement between a lot of the a lot of the characters, and it would basically a lot of the times when they're doing these big events, it goes into the individual issues. So yeah, sometimes they need to fill up time, so they'll do a retelling of like an origin or something, and of course I said like it brought back into the Avengers, which of course makes sense. The Avengers at the time, I think they were trying to make that into one of the and of course it is one of the major superhero teams that they have. At the time, they did have Fantastic Four, as they call them, the First Family. But this was more along the lines of a bunch of individuals deciding to come together, who didn't really know each other all that well, and they were brought together by an event that was orchestrated by Loki. So it was. And it was a nice collaboration, and it just wound up staying together and doing fighting the good fight. So one of the things to note in the early days of Captain America, I mean, he did fight a lot of different type of villains, but the more notable ones, or at least the ones that were more repeated, in the later issues, and as the years went on, I mean, there's Batroc the Leaper, who is a mercenary. I mean, he's kind of like, I don't know. I think back then they looked like they were trying to make him into a major villain, but I think he wound up being more of a minor one, like something to, like someone that would be like a henchman for one of the more major villains, or just someone to like fill up an issue here or there, just to have someone for him to knock around. But the main one is the Red Skull, which is like his arch nemesis, of course. So and also when you have the origin of Captain America, you're also kind of seeing the origin of a little bit of the origin of the Red Skull. So yeah, it's a nice look into the beginnings of one of the more iconic characters, and someone that it's a character that everybody's gonna always remember, especially that shield, and nobody's gonna forget that shield. I've actually seen videos of other YouTubers where they have like a replica of the shield hanging in the background. I mean, I don't have one, of course, but if I did, I would put it in the background, make sure it's visible. And then of course, being that Captain America is technically a man at a time, so he was as far as he's concerned, like not long ago it was the 1940s, when in fact it was a couple of decades. So now he's trying to reconnect with people that he knew. One, of course, was eventually he does reconnect with Nick Fury, who is now at this time the head of Shield, and one of the agents who happened to be related to the woman that he fell in love with. So, I know her last name is Carter, but now I'm Peggy Carter. And then she I think it was her niece is Agent 13, or as we all eventually know to call her, Sharon Carter. So, and she also becomes a love interest for him from over many times, and I mean, I think it was for a while it was on and off, but near more modern times in the comics, I mean, they tried to make it a bit more permanent, but I don't think they kept it that way. I mean, I have to admit that, because this, like I said, because of my of financial situations, I'm not able to stay very, very current with all the books, with any of the books really. You know, that is temporary though. One day it will change, and I will definitely be, you know, coming, you know, up to date on everything. Sorry about the sound of that. I had my door open and the wind just pulled it shut. All right, so now one of the things I wanted to, the last thing I want to mention is because this is something I talked about with the Hulk, where you had Rick Jones. Now Rick Jones, you know, did start off with the Hulk. He eventually does become like a companion of Captain America at some point. He starts off this what they call the Team Brigade, where basically he and other teens that he knows they get on these ham radios and they actually help Captain America find different people that he's looking for. So I skimmed through it. I didn't see evidence of him in this one. I don't think he's in this one. I think he might be in Volume 2, which is like further out. So no, so in this one, no Rick Jones yet. All right, so because I know this is, I mean, I think Rick Jones does have a bit of a fan base within the Marvel Comics fans, and you know, don't disparage him at all. All right, so anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about these, you know, like the first volume of the early years of Captain America. You know, anybody, you know, if you want to mention something that I didn't mention, or if you want to comment on something that I did mention, you know, whether you agree or disagree or whatever, or if you just have, you know, just general things to say about, you know, the early books of Captain America, or even the current ones, you know, please put it in the comments. You know, I was very pleased with with last month with the Hulk. I mean, I haven't gotten to all the comments yet. I do unfortunately have a day job that takes up a lot of my time, so yeah, it's I will eventually get to all those comments, and anybody, you know, of course, you want to make comments on this one, please feel free to do so. I welcome it. You know, I was very, very pleased. Like I said, you know, last month with the all the comments on the Hulk video. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much why I'm doing this. Let's, you know, start that discussion, and it may take me a while, but eventually I will get to all the comments. I mean, so just bear with me on that. And also, you know, I do have a Discord, which I will be putting the link in the description. So, you know, if you want to go, if anybody wants to go in there and start comic discussions, by all means, or if you want to go on there and show off maybe things that you found in, like, say, like a yard sale or like a flea market sale or something. Because, you know, sometimes, you know, I have seen people put this up on social media. Sometimes people go to these things and they find absolute treasure. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like I actually feel jealous sometimes that they're like, oh, you found that at a yard sale. It's like, you found that at a flea market and you paid how much for it? You know, it's, you know, I get a little bit jealous, but not too much. All right. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. You know, please like, subscribe, and share as much as possible. I want to thank everybody from last month, because after I posted the Hulk video, I did get a huge bunch in a huge jump. I'm sorry, in subscribership. So thank you very much. I'm hoping that it happens again. We'll see about that. I am up to 80 subscribers. I'd like to make it to 100, and when I get to 100, I'm going to try to do something a bit special. You know, see how that goes. Excuse me. So yeah, again, you know, like, subscribe, and share. Please, and also please go to Tabletop Jones Productions and do the same there. Like, subscribe, and share over there. We are up to 32 subscribers. We want to make it to 50 so we can start live streaming games. And you know, again, you know, in the description I'll have links to Discords, links to you know, my Patreon. Just, you know, whatever you would like to check out, just please do. I would appreciate, you know, it's the best way to support, and, you know, to support us, or support me, I should say, and I do appreciate every bit of it. All right, so again, thank you very much. Have a great day, and take care of yourselves, and I will see you again.